In fact, if anyone wants a site, we can just create one. I haven't thought of this, but if we have like, I don't know, your name, sir, your first name? Robert. Okay. Robert.commons.world. So this is, I type in the domain for a site view, okay? And if we have the internet on, which we do, I put it in the wrong, I can never talk and type at the same time. Right. Put it up there. Edit what? Oh yeah, Lacadie.
Yeah.
World. I like those domains, by the way. It's like, okay. So we just type that domain in and we've created you a site, okay? And all you have to do is click on the bottom and you own that site, and then you're the only person who can write on that site. No one else can write on it. But it's a wiki. And the reason it's a wiki is because we can bring in other data from other sites and we can share it. So one is super simple to set up your own site. You can use your own domain and you can have it on a server on your laptop. We can show you how to just pop up your own server, your own data, your own site that you own and no one else can touch. The way you share, so if we have a look at this site, this is me. No, let's have a look at this site here. This is David at commons.world, a similar one. When you click on a link like this one, Ward Cunningham, opens up a page to the right here. And he's writing here about, for instance, all these projects. I don't know what this hacker project. And you keep clicking and you keep going and you keep, and this data here comes from different sites. So this is the original author of the wiki, a guy called Ward Cunningham, who we work with on this project. This is his reinvention of wiki. So he invented the wiki in about 1995. And every Wednesday you're welcome to join in a podcast and help shape this open source project. And I'll briefly show you how on another site, like here's a site here about a project we're working in now to do with Plantoid. If you like this page, it's coming up now. If you like it's about a robotic plant, you can just drag this over to your site, drop it, and here it comes over onto this new site of mine. And I say, okay, it's in blue because the data has come from a completely different site, not my own site. So I don't own this data. I can't write on it because it's, let's say it's your site. But if I like it, I can go down to the bottom here and I can fork it. When I fork it, the blue goes away, and now I can just edit this. And I can say, you know, that's rubbish. You know? But I'm not writing on your page here. There's just my thoughts, my notes on your page. You know? So I'm going to click on that flag just to show you that it's now on my site. I can move these paragraphs around just by dragging and dropping them where I want. I can take this image, I can put it here. I can start to work with this data. And it's legal as well. And it's legal because every page here is automatically Creative Commons license. Here. So that means it's allowed to be shared, but you must attribute the original author. Now, if you've ever done that as a journalist or anything, or even on a blog or something like this, you take the link and you copy it, you put it back in there, and then you have to link back to the original person and maybe notify them and put the Creative Commons license on it. And if you're doing that a lot while writing, it takes a long... I just did that on one clip. I took that someone else's data and I did one clip. And the reason I'm able to do that is because it's automatically got the license and it's always got the full history of this page. So this here is the history of the page. So I can look at this page when it was revision 6. This is what it looked like then. When I forked it, I have these forked flags here. So I can see, aha, it's this person. I can see the original version, or the version of the page they have now. So the accreditation of the writing is automatic. And yeah, it's very simple. I like your content, click, and now I work with it. You can now see my changes. If you like my changes, just drag them back onto your site. But we have completely different versions of the same page. And from an education or a journalistic or a research point of view, that means you can share common data, but you can put your own notes and your own research and your own ideas, either as an individual or a little group of people. I'll show one last thing, and then we show how we can simplify this way of writing and working together as an editor to publish simple one-page sites that an audience can relate to and understand, while presenting all the data behind it. And that's what we're working on, decided to work on today when we're talking. And how we can also link it to other languages like R and stuff. So we'll mention that briefly. I want to just briefly show you how you can work with data in this, because that's interesting from a science and a journalist point of view. So here is the project that we just come from, which is to do with singing with plants and measuring the biosensors. So we're going to start writing and collecting information between us about that, collecting all of that, and then we'll publish and present that on Sunday. Yeah? And we'll talk about how we plan to do that, and you can talk about that when you do it. Here I want to talk about how, in this paradigm of everyone having, I'm talking too fast, sorry, in this paradigm of how everyone has their own server, their own data, writing their own stuff, we can share live, big data, small data, and we can pool all this data, program it, graph it, work together. How that would be possible even though it's not on one central server. So here is a page called, maybe I can show you, how we find data. It's actually, this colour of the flag here, it's called a flag, this square icon in the corner. When I roll over, this is david.commons.world. This is, I can tell it comes from another site because it's got this blue header around it, and it's got a different coloured flag. It comes from data.fedwiki.org, so some completely other server. I've just linked to it. And it's presenting how you can enter in some data here. So this is like aptitude, this is something to do with psychology, behavior, character, demeanor, and different values. Maybe when we change this value to, I don't know, 51 or something like this. Right? And here's some data. And this is technically telling you how this exposes the data to the software in the DOM. But what we can do is we can draw that data. So on another side, we have a graph plugin. And when we link over and we say demeanor 25 or effort, you can see it's interactive. This graph actually comes from the same site as this one. So someone else's server, and they programmed this plugin. Okay? So I'm taking data and graph from someone else and showing it on my site here. That's okay. But what becomes really interesting is if I go and get some more data. So how about I bring some more data in? So now we have data here from this site, which is david.commons.world. Here I changed it. And some data here, different numbers on another site, a purple site. I don't know which one it is. I graph that. I'm now bringing in both sets of data from here and from completely different sites and a different thing. How about I bring in some more data here? And what you can keep doing is bringing in this data. And if I like this data on this sample, I could fork it onto my site. I could change it. So that means you could have some data on your server, you could have some data, you could do a great visualization, and you like, I forgot your name, I'm sorry. Asia. You like Asia's visualization, so you just grab that page, fork it, and then you've got that. And then I like the way you've analyzed that data, I make that my own, and we start moving this data and this writing and this graphing between us, even though we've just got, maybe it's on our laptop, maybe it's on our server. And it's super simple, not like Apache web servers to get it up, like in installing you needed system administrator. You type in, we did it today, npm install -g wiki. Just that line, bit nerdy, okay. You can make it in a GUI software, but it's just those 4 words on your laptop, and you have it running on your laptop or on your server. And you have a server that can serve maybe 400, 500 or 1,000 people. So that's a very quick introduction to this way of writing, where you can do your own research, grab data from other people, and collaborate while retaining your own personal identity. Okay. Maybe that's any questions? Maybe you present now how we synthesize that with a simple website, and then you can ask whatever questions you want. Or if you want, just shout at me.
No, yeah, I mean, just one question. How new is this system, or how old? I mean,
I would say about 3 years old. And the concepts here are very strange because I've been going around Europe a long time now to all the tech conferences and weird conferences, and what's about to happen in the web is a complete transformation of it. I saw the web when it first appeared, I saw it in the .com and the Google era, and the new transformation is very much about decentralization. There are some really powerful technologies. So the previous transformation was big data, centralization, and what have you. The next transformation is peer-to-peer file systems, encrypted data going from one person to another, but how we work together in that paradigm, where we protect our data and our privacy, but we can share. And the concepts here are things like, I don't want to necessarily share my website or my data with anyone. Down here, for instance, this row of little flags is what we call my neighborhood. That's like the people that I've been writing with or reading, who I might want to know about. And everything I do, when I search or when I find out where the data has changed, I found out I don't just search Google for everything. I do a search here for data. See how fast it is. Normal searches take a while. I'm just going to hit return. There, this is instant. And the reason it's instant is because I haven't searched anything online. I didn't do an online search. The browser searched the site map of all these sites I was browsing in my neighborhood. It just, when you visit the site, it brings that data in with it, and you just search it. And that means I only searched the people I'm researching or writing with. And I could have another group. Maybe I've got one group that I'm programming with, another group who are artists, and I can decide which group to search with and which group. And these concepts are strange. Data coming from different people, not searching the whole internet, but just searching a few people to find out what they've written, because I'm interested in them, not the whole world. You know? These ideas of forking and copying and sharing are very strange. So to answer your question, this isn't the best software in the world. It's a very small, experimental software project. If you're a programmer, you can easily get involved and make it your own, create your own node package. Most modules are about 20 lines of code, no more, to add some feature to it. What is difficult about it is the sociology of this way of writing together, refining these concepts, finding out how much to be intrusive in someone else's writing, whether to notify them or how much to give them privacy, and giving them tools so that they understand the differences of the versions and things like this. Very subtle, strange ways of, people are difficult fuckers, Getting them to work together is not easy, So working out how this writing should work is not easy. So I think the idea is to get that really right, practicing with some people who are quite dedicated and interested enough in this way of writing before saying, okay, we've got this right, let's now really program this properly, and now let's kind of get a lot of people to use it. So at the moment there are probably about 500 to 700 sites of people writing on it, and of those, some people have 10 or 15 sites. So it's still really a very small community of people who are very interested in this writing together.
Is there any logging?
Yes.
How is the identification?
So at the moment we use Mozilla Persona, which is a fabulous, because they do no tracking and logging, but unfortunately Mozilla have shut this down. So for instance, if we took a look at that site that I just got up for Roberto, was it? I'm terrible with names. Where was it? Here. Somewhere here we have a site we just created.
It's easy to get lost.
Many of them open here, probably at the end. This one here, Robert. Okay. So at the bottom here, if you want to, you click on this, and if I click on this, open that site. If you were to click on it, if you already have a persona, it's one click and it's yours. Otherwise, you get sent it. You give a password, you get sent an email, you confirm, and then it's yours. And if anyone wants to experiment, we're here for 5 days. If you want to experiment with this writing, we can sit down together, I can show you how to do it, you can start practicing writing. And we're doing a real project, which we can talk about next, to research a couple of things. We're going to research how we do this data visualization and gather data together and get a server up here for local journalists and people researching data here, what we talked about this morning. And also documenting the open source circular economy projects that are happening here. So we're writing and documenting that. And that's an interesting topic. There are other cities doing it. So if you want to practice this kind of weird way of writing together, if it appeals to you in any way, you're more than welcome to try and join me.
Yeah, one more question. What about, I mean, we've seen small data sets. It's also okay for big data sets to upload a CSV or it's not meant for that?
Yeah, basically the whole site you can download and upload as one JSON file. So I think if you take a site here, I haven't done this in a while, with this new one, planto.cc, and I do system dot slash, oh, I don't know, this is the wrong one.
No.
It's sitemap.json.
I mean, if you can have big data sets, if that's the place where to share your data set. I don't know. This is the
everything
website.
is exposed as simple JSON. Every page you can just fetch as JSON. The whole sitemap of the whole site you can set as JSON. So if you want to create a whole site, you can just send the JSON and it does it. You could look at all 500 sites and pull in the whole JSON of all the sites and then analyze it. That's what we want to do for the graphing. Because if you think about normal web analysis like what you were doing, you have to scrape it to pull out all this interesting information. This is already JSON, and for those of you that are not technical, that means it's structured in the most beautifully simple way it can be structured for a programmer. So if you want to know who the author is and the title, you just say, give me the author, and it's there. You know? If you have a web page, the designer could have put the author's name over here somewhere, or over here. You have no idea what to do. So with this, you can just pull in all the data, and you can, for instance, if you want to know the fork history, so you want to graph the fact that you first wrote this idea like 3 days ago, and then you copied it, and it went to you, and you want to make a graph, then you can just pull in this JSON. You've got those clear data points of what happened, when, the timestamp, and you can make a beautiful graph. Or if you want to pull it into a CSV file to do something and to put into a database, you've got all this structured, simple information. Because it's written in a way where, it's, from a user interface point of view, see that paragraph, that first paragraph? If that was a web page, it would probably have some B tags and some table and all this stuff, which makes it a nightmare to process. This is just simple text, which is exposed in the JSON here. So that's what the JSON looks like, as just this thing here. So it's easy to pull out. If it was a big, full width page like a normal website, as a writer you've got all this space and it doesn't look very pretty to have a long paragraph, so you might split it into 3 columns, you might put it into a table, you might make it look pretty, and all that making it look pretty complicates the data. This encourages you from a UI, UX point of view just to be very simple. Just put a quick idea up there in simple text, later on add a link or something simple. And as a data journalist or as a person wanting to analyze that data, you've now got the simplest form of data that you could have. And you can pass it super easy. You can fetch any of these pages just by putting the URL.json at the end and you get the JSON. And you also get the full history of the page. Down here, where it says journal, that is every single edit, every single move, every single fork. So if you want to go back in time to something that in one of the first pages, maybe it was written 3 years ago, and then you want to see how that traveled through the federation, that's what we call it, it's kind of Star Trek-ish, but through these federated servers, you can see the fork events and you can graph them. Every paragraph has a unique ID, so if someone has dragged that paragraph and moved it around and changed it, you can follow that paragraph through 20 servers and 30 writers or whatever it is. So it's very easy to access this data and analyze it and share, and at the same time, precisely because that's easy, you give the attribution to the idea. So think of it from a science point of view. At the moment, scientists don't share data because if you don't publish first in a journal, your research is worthless. If this was time-stamped and proven, when you write in this medium, it's a unique experience for writing, because instead of just holding on to it until you publish, and being protective of your idea, you put up a little idea and you just hope someone will take it and fork it and change it, because what you want, it's like sending a little message out. What you want to do is see this graph of your idea being copied, because that, you know, that's there for all time. That graph is there. And so your incentives as a individual ego, if you like, aligned now with the practice of sharing. They're both the same. The more my little article or my little paragraph or my image or my gets shared, the more this beautiful idea that I created has gone out there, and I feel happy about it. I don't feel like it's stolen because of the whole attribution path. And that means the process of writing becomes different. You don't worry and fret about your blog post and get it all perfect and then put it up there and say, no one can, that's mine now. You just get up your first idea and you hope that maybe you pick it up and change it and add something. You go, aha. And at the same time, you know, I wrote that first and you copied it. So even though you made it better, at least I was part of that. And so you're encouraged all the time to share early, which is the basic precept of open source. Share early, publish often. And that works for code, but it's never worked for content. Apart from the wiki type idea, which is a lot of people writing sort of anonymously for the public good on this kind of page, and then you get wars over the owner of that page, and you have this whole group, and if you know about the politics of how all that works, it's kind of a little bit strange. This you just do it by yourself because you enjoy it and you're interested in the work and you hope other people will take it. And it's a very different feeling, and it's a beautiful feeling for the creative act of writing and sharing. Any more questions? Sorry, I talked too much. But I love this project, I really do.
Thank you.